Hi everyone, Zach here, and welcome to lesson 24 in this series on developing a survival game. In this video, we'll be expanding from section 2 and creating our item pickup master for our equipment system. So we already have our pickup master in general from section 2. As it relates to our inventory, we're now going to put functionality in to be used with our equipment system. That said, this series has been brought to you by my Patreon sponsors. And all of that said, open up your project and let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the editor. In today's video, we're going to set up our head-mounted flashlight as a piece of equipment and one test weapon. We have two things to do for prep for this. First, we're going to create a new Enum. So let's go to our core Enum, right click. We're going to create a new blueprint enumeration. And this will be E underscore equipment type. Go ahead and open that up, pin that into the correct window. And we're going to need about 5 of these. I think it's 5. We'll do head. So we're going to skip our null. And the reason we're skipping a null one is we're actually going to iterate through our enum later on. And we need the array element 0 to actually be something. Then we'll do body, then legs. And, I don't really have a piece of equipment for this one, so it's either going to be feet or hands. We'll do feet for now. And the final one will be weapon. Go ahead and save that. Close that out. The next thing we need to do is bring in our item icon. So go to your survival game textures folder, and in your textures folder, we're going to bring in our icon. So if you open up the asset pack, you'll see we have a whole bunch of icons. Now, most of these have been made by a community member, Rian, and we'll be using her icons later on, and we'll give her proper praise later on as well. But for now, we're going to use one I made, which is the headlamp one. So, in your textures folder, create a new subfolder called item icons. Go ahead and import the headlamp with it imported. Set the texture group from world or whatever it's defaulted to UI. So we get the nice alpha actually showing up here. With the prep done, what we're going to do next is head over to our items, go to our equipment, and right click our equipment master. And we're going to create a BP underscore head mounted flashlight. Go ahead and open that up. And in here, the first thing we're going to do is set a mesh. So select your item mesh. And we're going to use a dummy mesh for now. I'm going to use shape trim. And there's no real reason I'm using this. I just like the shape of it. I don't know why. Next, go to simulate physics and mark that as true. And the next thing after that we want to do is we want to go to our item itself, so the BP head mounted flashlight. Under equipment, leave that as is. Harvestable, yep. Consumable, yep. Stackable, nope. Item name will be head mounted flashlight. Our item icon will be our T headlamp. There we go. We'll set the weight to 1.5 so we can test out that it's actually putting the floats in correctly. Our item class will be our head-mounted flashlight. We'll leave at our default. And for our text, what we'll do is replace line 1 with a head-mounted flashlight with a high power, technically high power should be hyphenated as well, power bulb. I'm going to just skip line 2, and line 3 will become weight 1.5 lb for pound, or if you want to do kilograms or what have you. It's just dummy numbers right now, but I want to be able to test that out. I'm actually going to put a bit of a space between the L and the 5 there. And everything else is the same. I'm going to just compile this real quick, go over to my event graph, and in my event graph, I lied to you. I'm not going to go back to my event graph here. I'm going to go back to my equipment master. And in my equipment master, I'm going to add in that enumeration we just created. So if it opens up like this, just hit open full blueprint editor, and we actually will need to have the full blueprint editor because we will be doing some stuff in here. In fact, let's just do a custom event real quick just so we have it ready. So we're going to do the onConsumed, which we're inheriting from the parent. We'll be overriding this down the road. And let's do another custom event called onUnequip, which we'll also implement down the road later on. Actually, we'll be overriding this. Next, let's add a new variable in. Sorry, not a new function, not a new macro either, a new variable called equipment type. This will be of our equipment type. It will go under our category of master. All right, let's just save that real quick, compile it, and let's go back to our head-mounted flashlight. And you'll notice up here now we have that new equipment type, and we will leave this on head because this will go on our head, of course. All right, with that done, all we're gonna do is then go back here, go to our weapons, open this up real quick, set this to default to weapon, compile, save. Also, let's pin it into the correct window. And then we're gonna right click this, create a child blueprint. It'll be BP weapon test. Let's just pop this weapon test open. And all we're gonna do is leave everything as is for the defaults, change that to weapon test though. And we'll just call this weapon test, delete me later. We'll set that to 15, equipment. Ooh, actually, sorry, equip. This should, consume text should be equip. In fact, actually, let's go back to our weapon master and change that to say equip as well. And let's do the same in our equipment master. Let's go there to the BP equipment master self, open up our item details and change that to say equip. Go ahead, compile, save that. In our weapons test again, let's just change this to be T concrete tiles D, just so we have a dummy texture in there. And we'll be using this to make sure that we are able to equip into all three of our weapon slots. We'll have 3 weapon slots, by the way. Everything else will be the same. Let's just make sure that all of this has worked. I realize this is a very short video, but it's the easiest way to break up what we're doing in this section. Let's just add our, oh, we didn't add a mesh to that. Let's go back here and actually add a mesh. And for our weapons test mesh, what we are going to do is we are going to do shape, and we'll do pipe 90 degree because it kind of has a weapon look. Now we also need to take care of the collision boxes. So what we're going to do for this one is we're actually going to not deal with this one for a moment. We're going to go back to our head-mounted flashlight, and well, it looks like we have a bit of an issue with our collision box. So if we go back to our item real quick and go to our item master and go to our construction script, we have this adjust collision offset. So if we change that, then it should be a little bit better. So let's go back to our head mounted flashlight and let's look for our adjust collision offset. It's a bit better. We're now in the center of the item. Let's change the size to 1 by 1. Let's do 1.2. 1.2 by 1.2. And it'll be the X at 1.5, so it's a little bit wider than the item. There we go. So we have that set up just so we can do things like that. Let's just compile that real quick. Let's go back to our weapon test. This one matters a little bit less, to be fair, so I'm not so worried about it. Let's just change the offset. And I'm really not happy with that. 0.25. 0.25. Oh, I see what's going on. Now the offset on this shape is a bit different, so we'll actually leave it at 1 by 1. It's gonna have a large collision area, but it's a test item, and Yeah, the origin point is over here, so that's why we're getting this weird collision box for this. Let's go to our event graph. Sorry, not our event graph, our main editor. Let's bring our head-mounted flashlight out. Now you can, hit N to make sure it's on the ground. And then for our weapon, let's do the same. That is not the right type. And let's do the same for our weapon. And while I'm thinking about this, something I said we should take care of, but we haven't in the last section, is that we need to make the abstract classes abstract. But first, let's test this out, make sure this works. Let's pick up the head-mounted, I forgot what the physics on that. Head-mounted flashlight. Our pop-up has all the information there. So a head-mounted flashlight with a high-power bulb, weight 1.5 pounds. And let's do the same for our weapon test. There is our weapon test. Looks like there's a bit of an issue with the weapon test, and I know what it is right now. We need to change this over to weapon test. That's what happens if you don't do that, by the way. Let's test that out again. So we have interesting. I'm gonna just up the collision box on the head-mounted flashlight for now. So let's go to the head-mounted flashlight, set that to 1.75 by 1.75. Actually, we'll do the Y at 1.5, and the X is 2.5. There we go. Should be a little bit easier to actually get in the collision box for this now. There we go. Pick up head-mounted flashlight, and then pick up weapon test. There we go. And there we go. So both are working. As I said really quickly, what we're going to take care of is actually making our master classes abstract. Because notice I can go to my item and drag in this thing. And there's nothing there. We're never going to put that in the world. Let's open up our item master and go to our class settings. And under class settings, you have class options. You have this little down arrow that says show advanced. We're going to do generate abstract class. Compile this, save it, and now we try to drag it into the world, it won't let us. We should, now if we go to, let's say, our resources, go to our food, and let's go to our herb test 01. If we open up in full blueprint editor, go to class settings, we shouldn't be an abstract class. We should go back up to our items and just type the word master in real quick. And we have all of our masters. We have our item master, we have our construction master, and again, what we'll do here, full blueprint editor, class settings, abstract class, compile, save. Do the same for our equipment master, class settings, generate abstract class, compile, save. Food master, generate abstract class, compile, save. Herb master, open full blueprint editor. You get where I'm going with this. Feel free to skip ahead to the end of the video, which will most likely just be the outro and the final tests. But yeah, we're pretty much done with what we have to do in this video. When I say pretty much done, I mean we are done. I am literally just doing this so that you see that I'm doing it on all the classes, so that everything I do in this project you can see. There will be some time in like the setting up of the environment that I will do off camera, just because it's about preference and just little things where it doesn't really need to be seen, but I'll show you what I'm doing generally. And this should be the last one. I'm in the wrong thing. Generate abstract class, compile, save. We're just gonna Control S, save all. And we're gonna make sure that we can still add in our herb, but we can't add in our herb master, and we can add in our meat cube. So now with these as abstracts, we can't accidentally drag in the wrong thing. All right, so we can still go over here, pick that up, see that it's picked up 26, pick up our meat cube, pick up our head-mounted flashlight, pick up our weapons test, and we can see that we didn't put any text there. We did put some for there. We have our actual text for this one and our dummy text for that one. So that takes us through what we need to do in today's video. If you're enjoying setting up your equipment system, if you're looking forward to being able to equip items and have them do things like being able to turn our flashlight on again once we have our flashlight equipped. If you've enjoyed setting up the inventory system or anything else in the series, please make sure to hit that like button down below. It really does help this channel out, and it gets this video out to people who might not know about this series. And if you want a copy of this project, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. Patreon supporters at upper tiers get instant access to any ongoing project. And at other tiers, we'll get access to projects once the series is completed on YouTube. This series has been brought to you by Patreon sponsors like Hanas, Quad Menson, Rian, Connor, 1Volt10, and Galwa. If you want to be here when we work on the rest of the system, make sure to hit that subscribe and notify icon so you know when those videos are out. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.